boys and girls, this is Dane. Got a Squire guitar in just for a setup. Squire Strat. I believe the customer said this was Fire Mist. It's a pretty cool color, and it's different depending on how you look at it. It can just be really dark maroon. You're not seeing that. Well, there's a little spot over here that looks kind of like what I'm looking at up here. But yeah, you can see that it's got a nice metallic, and then it's got the anodized aluminum pickguard, gold hardware. It's got the super big 70, late 60s, early 70s Strat peg head or headstock, excuse me. And the customer tells me he doesn't really want the whammy bar functional, but I have a question in my own head here, and the question is, or the reason I'm wondering is, it looks like, and you can't see this, but it looks like there's space under all the middle screws. You got 6 screws. The 2 outside screws appear to be tight down to the body. Oh, I was looking for my number 2. My number 2 is in my, oh, I could have done this over in the new workstation. Can't really get there from here. Yeah, these are tight right down to the body, so there's no way that this is going to move, which is fine. Like he said, he didn't really want it to move, so I'm just going to treat it. I'm going to make it decked, and we won't have anything. So I'll end up probably just snugging up these other screws. If anybody ever tries to just whammy it, it's going to screw things up. I just bought these trem blocks from Greg over at Skyscraper Guitar. I was going to call him Greg's Garage because that's where I first started watching him years ago. YouTube, guys, a good channel. So look at Skyscraper Guitars or Greg's Garage on YouTube, and you can see some of what he's into. But this is for setting a floating trem, because when you have a floating trem, every time you tighten the strings, you got to work it back and forth. So if you block it first, it's a lot simpler. Now I thought I was going to get to use those, but I'm not going to need to do that. So I'm going to take the strings. I've already checked the truss rod to see that it's functional. This is virtually a brand new guitar. It hasn't played right, according to the customer, since he purchased it. And he got it at Sweetwater. And I told him, I said, that's very unusual, because everybody that I know, every guitar I've ever dealt with that came from Sweetwater is very well set up. So I don't know how this one got through the cracks, but I guess it did. Or he's just beginning, actually. So I don't know if he has any idea what to expect. I haven't looked at the thing yet to know if it's within tolerances or what here, so I'm going to do that. It looks like the relief in the neck might be a tad high. I'll check that with the capo on. I like to go, a lot of people just 12 thousandths no matter what. I personally like them a little flatter. I go about 8 thousandths or 10. Just depend. I know we're only talking about 4 thousandths from 8 to 12, so it's not like it's a huge thing. But like I said, I like them a little flatter. And I'm going to take a look at where my string action is here. What does Dave always say? Dave's World of Fun Stuff. If you haven't watched Dave, he's my favorite French Canadian. It's kind of weird. He's probably about my age. He makes me think of my dad, not because of his age, it's because of his looks. And my dad was French Canadian. I guess it makes me French Canadian. So we have that in common. This is actually, the string height on this is set up pretty well. And the radius doesn't look bad. I might lower this actually a little bit. He said he's got a little bit of sharp frets on here, very minor. The nut is really sharp. Yeah, so I'll fix that. And I will touch up these fret ends. Like I said, I wanted to see where it was. Let me go ahead and check my neck relief. Oh, anyway, what was I going to say about Dave? Oh, Dave always says we have to see where we are to know where we can go. Anyway, he cracks me up. So let's just find out where we are. I like to capo the first fret, hold the string down at the body joint, which you can't see because you're up there on the bench. Change my camera angle this time too, so you can see it from the end. I usually have it coming from the edge. Anyway, let's have a look. 7th fret. It looks like that 12 thousandths is just about hitting just perfectly on that string, so yep, I might tighten that up a fuzz. I also do the same thing that Dave does. When he has the strings off the guitar, he sets his neck straight, and then by the time you get string tension on it, pretty much just pulls it up to the right amount of relief. Sometimes I actually put a little bit of back bow in it, just so I'm not quite at 12 thousandths. So I should play it and see what it feels like to me. Oh, the jack is loose too. I remember that now. We got some wiggly stuff going on there. And find a pick. I'm going to go ahead and pull the strings, pull the back cover off because I've got to I got to get the strings in and out, and the little holes in the back never really line up. Let me know if you're a fan of gold hardware. I think it looks good with this color paint. I don't think it looks good against the, I don't know if you can see that. Nope. I don't think it looks good against that maple at all. Oh, yeah. Anyway, I'm not typically a fan of gold hardware. It tends to wear faster than chrome or nickel. And so a lot of gold hardware I get in here that's just got a few years on it is degraded a lot of times. But like I said, I do like the color against the paint job here, the gold. And this is stupid. The Y, we don't need that. It's pointless. Keep the thing straight. Yeah, that I'm gonna have to loosen that. That claw is completely buried. So whoever set this up at the factory or at Sweetwater really didn't have any intention of it working as a trem. Maybe the owner did this. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Even the trem is gold, and the screws are gold. Interesting. All right, now we got it. Go ahead and crank this thing back up. You know, I seem to remember taking my string winder somewhere. I don't know where I took it. I mean my power one. So we'll use this one. This has the vintage tuners, which I like. I heard somebody refer to these as safety tuners in a video, which I can understand because they don't have a sharp string sticking out of them, which I like. I haven't used this thing in so long, it's not exactly ergonomic. Just found my string winder. Must have been on a, well, it was just on my other bench, so. And I don't know where my regular wire cutters are either. So we'll use these little dinky ones that really don't like cutting wire. Not sure why I have them. Okay. Love the way those tuners work. Right in the trash can. I hope if he ever wants to play this thing with a floating trem, he brings it back to me so that I can straighten it out for him. That is funny. It looks like it's, yeah, it's not flat on top. It's tipping back this way. It's like it's in backward. Like maybe it was for a left-handed guitar and they turned it around and stuck it in here. But I'm going to go ahead and ease this front edge off because this whole nut is really sharp. Well, I guess it's the back edge. The edge on the string peg side. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Doesn't matter if you roll that top edge off a little bit because it's the bottom of the slot where the string comes out, so you're not changing any intonation or anything. 800. I don't like to use the wet and dry stuff on a nut because the black comes off and it stings the nut sometimes. And okay, my brush is over there. Let's see if I can find the 3M. There we go. This gold cut stuff is really good for nuts just because, like I said, it's not black. Now, I'm not sure if this is probably a corian. It doesn't look like bone. It's way too white for bone. And it doesn't feel like bone. So it's probably not porous like bone. But if you sand a bone nut with that black wet and dry paper, it's down in the pores and it makes it look dingy. All right, and then last but not least, the 600 grit Asolix paper. Just makes them pretty. Cuts like 350 or 360, but it leaves a scratch pattern of 600, so it's pretty cool paper. right. And that feels like something you might want your hand to touch instead of a barbed wire fence. Alrighty. Now let's have a look here. 25.5-inch scale. Now I will clean this guitar up totally, and I will oil this fretboard. This thing has some sort of something going on right there next to the nut. I don't know what it is. If it's a scratch or what, but when I oil this board, it'll darken it up. 25.5. Right now we have a gap in the neck, which is unusual because there's no string tension on it. Usually they'll flatten out a bit. Now let's find out how much gap. It shouldn't be 12 thousandths like we had, because we don't have any string tension, so I don't think it'll be that much. But if it does, yeah, it's not. Yep, it's less. I'm going to say it's probably about 6 thousandths. And now we're going to go ahead and tighten that thing up righty-tighty. And that is right there. But I'm going to give it just about a 64th of a turn more. And I have just a barely discernible rock in the middle of that fretboard. And speaking of rock, I should have left it flat, but I'm going to check. I'm going to rocker it just for kicks and giggles. Did I mention what he paid for this guitar? I'm not sure I did. Anyway, I said he got it at Sweetwater, and I'm not saying that they overcharge or anything, but these things are going for around $800 now. And it could be, it's the, excuse me, it's, what is it? Anniversary model, and it's gold hardware and all that, and so it's probably a little more than they would normally be if it were just a standard model. But you know, I'm thinking, like, the last time I thought about these things, I thought they were like $250, or maybe those are the Affinity Squires, really cheap. But yeah, so we're going to leave it right there. Didn't get any fret rocker-ness going on there at all. I'm going to go ahead and fiddle with these fret ends just a fuzz, and then I'll bring you back, because I don't want this to be about fretwork. Bend it over. See, it's bent. And then you hold it. Can't think of a way to do this without having my fingers right in the way. Maybe, no, that's still in the way. Pull it back here so you can see it. But it's winding down. Oh, it didn't. It went over it because I didn't have my finger in the right place. There we go. Okay, now we've got a non-wound G here. And so we're going to go longer on this just so that we can have plenty on there, because this one isn't under the tree and it doesn't have a lot of down pressure, so we'll try to get a lot more string on the deal. So we're going to go to that one, and then we're going to add another peg, basically 1 inch. Move it over. Now these last two, I do the same thing. I just put a little extra string on the post, although with the string tree, it's not majorly critical if you do that. But so now we're on this peg, so I don't have 2 pegs to go. So I'll hold it where the peg was, and then I'll just measure 3 pegs elsewhere. And fudge it along, it doesn't matter. You got plenty of room for these skinny strings on these posts. Okay, now this is going to tune up just like a normal guitar because of the bridge being decked. It's gonna tune up like a regular guitar. Here we go. Gonna inchworm it. I think that's a Greg thing. I think that's what he calls it. I just stretch strings. And usually I'll just do that same kind of thing. Pull on it, make sure it's not going to pop out of the nut. Pull up on it, or tweak it between your fingers so that you get some pull on it. I looked into one of the string stretcher things that the guitar techs, that travel with bands use. But they're changing 5 or 6 sets of strings every day when they're on tour, and but for the on a busy day, like on my day off, I might have 3 or 4 setups to do, and that's not even that common. I usually just get a setup in every so often, so it's not a big deal. Come along and stretch these out. When you're working on a bench, it's really nice to have all the pegs on one side. Because when you have to reach over the peg head and turn the knob backwards, it's just weird. Alright, then we do it again. Okay, some sort of a rattle. I don't like that, whatever it is. Gotta find that noise. Alright, let's look at the string height. Let's look at the neck relief. What am I doing? Neck relief. And let's do that in the playing position, though it's not hugely critical. All right. Definitely tight here on the 10. I'm rubbing that 8. I might let it up a bit. But let me see what my string height looks like. Right at 4 on the high E, and I'm just pretty much right at 4 on the fat E. And I'm a little low on the G and a little low on the B, so we can definitely bring those guys up to get our radius just right. And that little one doesn't work. There we go. Wow, that thing is frozen in time. probably why that. No, that was buzzing when it was open. That's buzzing in the net. So I'm pushing it over to the on one side. Leave it in the net. It's buzzing. So I'm going to put a little drop of super glue in there and refile that down smaller. That string is, you can't see that, but it's pushing back and forth several thousandths. You hear that? That's side to side on that net. B's okay, everything else seems to be okay. That G's got a little bit of a weird buzz. Now the G's moving around too. So we'll fiddle fart with those a bit. Sharp. 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 All right, so everything's got to pull back. Oh, I didn't finish my stringies. Those are okay. That one's okay now. G's got to go up a fuzz. You want to have your string height before you do your intonation. You want it right. And I am pretty much setting them all at 4/64s. I could lower the outside E, the high E. I was hesitant to do that because of that rattle, but I think that's got to do with the nut. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this high E a little bit. That saddle screw on that thing, adjuster screw's pretty tight. All right, where are we at now? Go a little more. Well, it's got some long screws. Okay. All right. I'm gonna have to fix that nut before I intonate, I think. Still sharp. Boy. You know what I haven't checked yet is I didn't check the nut height here, so I'll have to check that too. Pickup height here. Those are close. You don't want your Strat pickups too close because that'll pull your intonation off also. So these have got to go down. unlike a humbucker, your Strat pickups, the pole pieces are magnetic. On a humbucker, the magnet is underneath the pickup. So you can get those pretty close without really pulling your tune out. But this way, you will actually you can actually change the way the string is oscillating. And this is just a starting point for me. I adjust to taste. I like to go from one position to the next and not have a volume increase. If I'm going to have a volume increase, I don't mind a little bit of a jump at the bridge. You always lose it between 2 and 4 anyway, because it's a combination of 2 pickups and they're not as hot that way. So, but I do like the treble side. Generally speaking, I come up a little extra on the treble side because they're not as loud as the bass strings, so I get them a little closer than the bass. I don't like the I've never measured these. I don't like the difference in height. See, I got to go down there now. I got too high down there also. I came up too much on all of those. I'm not sure what pickups these are, but they're staggered. It's got to go down. Oh, well, we got to go down still. This one's more. Oh, what an idiot. I grabbed the wrong one. That's why. Thought I was not that far off. Alright, we're just going to do like a turn each. I also adjust this by ear, by volume. And so as I go across, for instance, and then my amp has been so weird. And then say to the bridge. They're pretty even right now. Probably rather than raise the bridge, I'll lower the neck because the bridge seemed to be pretty good where it was. You also get the difference in tonality can fool you on volume. And they're a little different clean than they are distorted as well, so. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Now what about the middle? Okay, I'm happy with those. So, I'm going to shut you off. Gonna add a little CA and bone dust to this first slot and a little bit to the G string as well. And then I'll recut those. Also, well, let's just take a quick look. There again, I'm not really in the camera for you. I push down at the 3rd fret, and then I just see how much of a gap I've got there. And right now, I'm pretty happy with that. Let me just give you a solid measurement right at the 1st fret. So we've got, I think this is going to be too much. Yeah, definitely picking it up with that one. So 10 and 12, we'll try 22 thousandths. I'm right at 22. That's a little higher than I would normally go. The high is lower. Let's try this. This will be 20. This will be 21 thousandths. That's going to be too high. Let's go 15 thousandths and see what we get. That's about it. It's about at 15 right there. So those aren't bad, but I'm going to go ahead and pull these strings out of the slots and then take care of that. And so, well, here's a neat trick. Slide your feeler gauge under the strings, put your piece of tape down on it, and then you can pull it right through. And I'm just taping this fretboard right up against the nut so that I don't get super glued down in there, if at all possible. You have more room on the tuner side of the nut, but it's still easier to stick it down to the feeler gauge and pull it through. I'm using the feeler gauge to run the masking tape down tight against the end of the strings where I can't get my finger. All right. So I'm going to turn you off. I'm going to go eat. I'm going to do a little glue in here first and then let that cook while I'm eating. So we'll be back. All right, so we went across before. I believe we discovered everything was sharp, but just for fun, I can't talk while I'm doing this. Actually looks really good. Okay, a little sharp. We gotta make the string longer, which means we have to tighten the screw in the dealio. I'm just going to sharpen the string. Well, I don't know what I did with my capo. I got the intonation set up. I actually had to file the net a little bit more down ramped because I was having trouble with the A and it was pulling it back, and I was having trouble with what I think was the B string. So I filed it back a little bit so that the string was ramping off in the right place. So we're just going to double check this neck relief. I should have done it before I set the intonation, but it didn't happen. Let's take a number 10 here. 10th thou. And body joint, 7th fret. So it's hanging right there at 10th thou. It's got some rub on it, so it's pretty flat. I haven't tried the up the neck thing yet. I'm going to turn the tuner off before I run the battery down. Okay, so now first of all, remember how we had that fuzzy sound yesterday? That's gone. Remember, we didn't have any rock on our fret rocker, so we really shouldn't have any issues. A lot of people think that you got to have 12 thousandths or even more relief in the neck so that you can play hard and not have rattle. I don't have any rattle. Anyway, what happens is if you have too much relief, you pull the strings in here in the middle, and you got to imagine this is bowed, and then as you pull the strings in here with your action low, you actually start hitting the upper frets. And so to avoid that, I keep a relatively flat neck. What did I end up with? Pretty sure I was right about 4/64ths on the fat E. I'm still at 4/64ths on the fat E. And the same, a little tighter, just a fuzz tighter there, okay. Anyway, that's it for this rather nice looking guitar, and I'll clean it up, finish polishing it up, and put it in the case and get it back to my customer. Alrighty. Thank you, folks. Appreciate it if you watched it all the way to the end. If you did, you know, shout hallelujah or throw money or something.